Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host, Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful or memorable video game from a particular moment in their life. If you listen to the show, and I know you do, then you'll know when we have someone on, we hear from them not only about the game itself, what captured them in this moment that they had this significant time with it, but also hear about that time and the context in their life when they experienced some phenomenon. A little bit of housekeeping up top is that anything that my guest or I plug today on the show, you can find in a link in the show notes. So whether you are watching on YouTube, all 7 of you who do that, or the hundreds of you who listen on podcast applications, if you scroll down, there's going to be links to stuff, whether we're sharing other podcasts, links to Patreon, social media. Scroll down and you'll find great stuff there. And just for this podcast, there's all sorts of social handles you can follow us at, including TikTok as well. We have a TikTok account now that we've been getting some help from a group called Storylines. So if you're out there, if you have a podcast and you're like, I want to be in the TikTok game, I want to be in the highlights game, but you're not sure where to start or like how to even find those clips for your podcast, and you don't want to do the painstaking labor that I'm assuming my guest does for his podcast today, then you can check out Storylines. They're a really great group who's helped us get off the ground in that way. There's a bunch more crap in the show notes you can find, but I'll finally introduce our guest for today's episode. So please welcome to the microphone, comedian and writer Patrick McDonald.
Hi, Connor. How are you, bud?
I'm gosh darn tootin'. That's what
You're
came
gosh
out of
darn
my
tootin'?
mouth today.
You are gosh darn tootin'. I was going to guess that just by
Oh,
looking at you right
I'm
now.
really giving off the gosh darn tootin' energy
Yeah,
today.
yeah. It's good. I think it's really good.
Thank you.
I think both of us subscribe to kind of wholesome boy vibes sometimes, you know. And I've been trying to
Yes.
change it up. We're trying to be less wholesome if we can. risk it, you know.
You
Be a
know
little
what?
crazy, but
I'm
it's
glad one
nice.
of us is brave enough to step out into the world of being bad.
I'm wearing all black today. It's my new personality. No, it's
Yep.
not. It can't be.
And I'm
It
wearing
couldn't
a
possibly
shirt
be.
with my cat's face on it. So I'm firmly entrenched in the wholesome boy camp.
It's
And
well, and
never
it's also a waffle print long sleeve shirt, so it's not that bad. It's like an Old Navy bad.
That's good. Old Navy bad is the funniest version of bad, I think, that we could even come up with on the show.
It's Old
Patrick,
Navy bad.
I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. This is going to be so much fun. I
I
know
can't wait.
you, how I know the majority of my guests through the UCB comedy theater, through
Yeah.
improv in general, but I sometimes give myself the impossible task of trying to remember when I first met someone. Now, I can't pinpoint like, okay, this is the moment that you and I met, because I believe it's been like 8 or 9 years at this point.
I know it's been a long time, and I can't pinpoint that either. What
So
was
that's
this? Is I well, let me ask first,
yes.
and because I know you probably have an example, but what was like the first indie team in the UCB community, in the indie improv community? There is you start on these teams before you get onto bigger teams. And so what was your indie team that you were known for?
The first one that I would have been known for would have been the interns who would go
Yeah,
on to
that's
host
got to be it.
TNT and all
That's got to
that.
be it, because I'm really good friends with Sydney Nichols,
Yes.
now Sydney O'Toole. But I saw you guys, I think, open, and Dennis was on that too. Dennis Crowlett was on the
Dennis
interns.
wasn't, but
Okay.
there's a chance Dennis guested with the interns at some
Well,
point.
I remember you guys were an intern group like a year after I was an intern at UCB.
Oh,
And I remember
wow.
being like, oh man, I wish that
I
my
missed the
group
cut.
had. Yeah, I missed the cut. I was too old to be on the interns, but it was very exciting for me. And I know Sydney was on there, and I saw you guys do cage match maybe.
Maybe, yeah. We did play once
something.
and we did lose.
Okay.
We lost to, I remember we lost to, I don't remember the team name, but it was Casey Faye and Jacob Womack, whatever that group
Yeah.
was called.
And Hip Hop Penguin.
Could be. That could be it.
Okay, and no one cares if they're listening, and that's the thing is no one cares.
No, we're helping fill out some of the improv wiki here by just the nuggets we're giving out, and the listeners are furiously typing into their keyboards.
They're typing in, Hip Hop Penguin versus Hot Pickle. That was their other version of, anyways. Yeah, but Sydney and I went to college together.
You're both Emerson kids.
Both Emerson kids. Yeah.
Yes, Sydney, a recent guest on this podcast, was on the show to talk about a sort of a game that's been a little bit lost to past. It's called Christmas Disaster. It was a game that was made by the creator of The Sims, Will Wright, and it was sort of like you work as like a contractor who comes in to save Christmas because at the North Pole everything's gone wrong.
Wow.
And so Sydney brought that game on. It was the episode that when we're recording we released this week, and it was so much fun. Awesome. One of the examples of the non-gamers that I was referring to.
Yeah, we were talking about some non-gamers.
Yes.
And I don't subscribe to that. I have a lot to talk about, but we're going to get that in another section, as you've so patiently described to me earlier.
Yes.
So I won't spoil that yet. What level gamer I am.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's a tease, baby. Ooh. In the radio world, we call that a tease.
Oh, we don't get enough of those on this here show.
Oh, no, I can throw you some teases.
A lot of what I describe are peeks behind the curtain, but teases.
No, this is a tease.
And that's probably
stick around, folks.
What makes you a bit of the old Navy bad boys. You tease, and I don't know how to do it yet.
Exactly. I tease and you don't tease.
Yeah, that's my next affirmation or sort of manifestation is I'm gonna say I'm gonna tease people more.
It's really easy to tease. I want you to try out teasing on me right now. Maybe just and I'm not talking about like I'm teasing you. It's like like something that piques my interest about the future.
Okay.
Just throw me something.
A little tease for you, Patrick, is that later at the end of the show, I might have a little fun game recommendation for you.
That's pretty fun.
Okay,
that's pretty fun. I want you to try it again. Is it okay if I give you a little bit of a note here?
I would love a note.
I loved what you did there. You don't have to say it's a tease.
Okay. I think I'm hearing you.
Try it again. And don't say here's a teaser or a little bit of a tease for you. Okay.
I can definitely do this.
Yeah. And maybe use some of those hooks that we learned in like English class where it's like, listen up. Hey, watch this. You won't believe this. Kind of clickbaity vibes.
I see. Okay. Keep your ears open, Patrick, because a little later I'm going to have something fun for you. That's a tease.
No, okay, that was pretty good. No, that was really good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit that. And I'm glad you took a pause because I'm going to take out that's a tease. So we don't have to do it again.
Okay, good.
Have to go over.
Because you can tell already I'm not going to do it right.
I can already tell, but it's okay. It's fun.
Huge. Baby steps, right?
Baby steps. Come
okay.
On, man.
Gosh, I'm already so tickled by this. We could just do bits this whole podcast.
I would love to. I'm always down.
But I actually remember I had like sort of the reason you may not remember as well is because I sort of weaseled my way into the improv scene before I was really performing. I had taken classes pretty much as soon as I moved out here, but took a bit of an unintended like 2-year break from class. Hadn't really performed outside of a class setting yet, but the indie team Grandma I used to follow around with Charlie Mihalik and Stephen Loomis. And
I remember that team too. Yeah.
That group. So I think I'm almost sure I met you through them at some like, hey, every improviser you've ever known is going to this bar event. But I also saw you perform. I have like a memory of seeing you perform in the Inner Sanctum on some team when I think maybe when you were even first on Herald Night. It was a different team that was up. So I have like visions of you and your hair on the Inner Sanctum stage.
My long hair.
Your long hair.
My crazy hair. That's so interesting. I've had a long history with my hair. So also long story short, I have a podcast, Artists on Artists on Artists on Artists, Improvised Roundtable with Jeremy Cohen, Angela Giarratana, Kylie Brakeman. You edit our podcast, Connor. I want to call that out. You're amazing at it. You're so good at it. You're a genius.
Genuinely so much fun to do every week.
You're saving us every single time you do it. And there's so many things we do that are bad. And I've edited myself some of the episodes and they're unlistenable and we keep them up. So watch out for the Fail Army episode. It peaks and it's literally broken people's headphones and I won't change it. Oh, no. But it's like part of the lore that I'm bad at it. Every time I do something tech related, everyone's like, Patrick must have done this. And
that's so funny.
But why did I bring that up?
Your
Oh,
hair.
my hair. You can watch that. We have a YouTube podcast. You can watch my hair go in and out. It changes. It goes long, it goes short, it goes all over the place.
It does.
Probably at that era was likely I was on this indie improv team called the Dukes, which was one of my favorite teams I was ever on, which was me, Pi and Benifast, Ego Wodum, Zach Oyama,
Was
Greg
Jess?
Nix, Jess Seaclat, Tamar
Yes.
Stevens, Teresa Decker, and somebody else that I'm missing.
What a
But 5 of
team.
us got on Herald Night in 1 year. 5 of us from the team.
Wild.
And it was like so fun. And Herald Night is the UCB. I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you've heard of Herald Night.
Oh, they're familiar.
They're familiar. But it was a really exciting time for that group. Yeah, because Jess, Zach, Ego, Peter, and I got on.
Wow.
Got on.
What
Yeah,
a
so
team, too.
It was fun. So, but we hosted the first happy hour. It was happy hour with the Dukes, and we started that show because the AD at the time said, "We want to. Can somebody host a weekly show? Would you guys want to host a weekly show at the Inner Sanctum?"
Dang.
And so we were the first team, and then that show lasted for 4 iterations or something.
Wow.
It lasted for like 60 or 7 years. Yeah,
I'm
we were proud of.
Confident that that's the team I saw you
Must have been
performing
that.
with. Yeah.
We had a lot of fun with those. We did like solo show nights, and we did in the round. We did so much fun stuff. It was such a blast.
Gosh, what a trip back in time already.
I know, crazy.
Look at that.
Crazy.
We're going to be doing so much on the show.
Yeah, we have a lot to do.
Does that kind of count as a you know what?
Oh, we're doing so much. Yeah, kind of.
Okay, phew.
I think. Well, like, what about the like? I think a good teaser to think about, and not to kind of hit teases, but it's like it's almost like you won't believe what just happened over here. We'll tell you in a minute. Like,
that's good. That's tantalizing. Yeah. Like I already don't want to miss it.
Exactly.
Huge.
And it's like, I'm trying to think of like, because I'm a DJ on Radio Margaritaville on Sirius XM. That's another one of my many facets. I kind of have an unexplainable life. You know what I mean? Like I have so many different things that I do that they don't quite compute. And so it's hard for me to describe who I am. That's long story short. And adding this video game that we're talking about today into it is going to even wrinkle the folds. But yeah, one thing I do is radio stuff. So it's a lot of teasing of like, something crazy. Jimmy Buffett got up to something crazy last weekend. We're gonna find out after this song. It's Son of a Sailor here on Radio Margaritaville.
Wow, that
like
is. Yeah, I've never heard you actually do that. I'm kind of in a trance now. That was incredible.
Are you?
Yeah,
yeah. It's like my little secret that I have.
Oh, that's so cool. I think I knew that you did that, and we kind of like we were talking about before the show. I was like, hey, how do you want to be introduced? And you're like, well, it's complicated. There's many ways you could do that. I can relate to you in that, where it's like, I always say that I have my fingers in a lot of pies. A better way to say that is like, I feel like a jack of all trades, master of none, sort of, where like, I like not to lump you in with me, but I like so many things. And I'm like a 7 out of 10 at a lot of stuff. Like, I can do it proficiently. But am I incredible at them? Most likely no, but some of them maybe.
I think it's so funny. I just get so interested and excited about things that I do as much as I can.
Totally.
And I follow what I'm interested in. And if I do that and I'm not giving into social pressure, then what I end up doing is so vastly different because I have so many interests. So I'm just feeding myself, which has been gratifying. But then when someone goes, like I had a lunch with someone who was older than me that sometimes seems to try to give me advice.
They consider themselves your mentor, but we won't say that.
Well, what I will say is to go even further. This was my high school theater teacher. So we met up again. She actually moved out here and now wants to be a writer and is getting writing advice from me, which is a weird facet. And she won't listen to this podcast, so it's going to be fine. But she said like, okay, so I was telling her everything I do. And she goes, okay, so what's your goal? And I'm like, stop asking me that. My goal is for any of the things I'm doing to succeed. Yes, that's the goal. Like I don't have to have one. I don't have to have it. Like I understand this like mythical dream idea, but it's like no, and I die. No.
What's he gonna say?
And that's a tease. No, I think that's like it's like my goal is for all the things I love to succeed, and I think I can put my energy into them if they're useful and helpful. Because after 10 years of doing all these things at the same time, all of them have gotten better. So I kind of don't subscribe to the myth of you have to put all your energy in something. Sure, it's easier, but I think it can also be restrictive, especially nowadays when everything is so identity based and everything is so restrictive, where it's like, I say I'm this, and now there's a community behind me of those people. Hard for
Yes.
me to build a community because there's nobody that likes everything that I like, but I
Mhm.
like being able to dip in around. So anyway, this
Yeah.
isn't, I know we have a schedule and I'm just going on about my identities.
No, that's okay. You are bringing up something very interesting that I do relate to a lot. And it honestly feels nice to hear somebody else express that they're going through something similar, or that they have a similar
Yeah.
experience with, just like you said, things you're passionate about. Sometimes I will get a little insecure of like, well, maybe I should just be doing one thing, or only writing, or only acting. And then I realize that that's not wouldn't make me happy exactly, and I
Yeah.
like that I'm getting to do all sorts of stuff, including talk to people about a video game they played on their computer when they were a kid.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel the same way. I also think that all of it feeds itself. And
Mhm.
I think like my experience as an actor and a writer feeds my experience as a director. My
Mhm.
experience as a radio DJ feeds my experience as an editor. Like it's all this stuff that goes back into everything else. And all of that feeds into being a professor, which I also am. So
Yes.
so there's like all these things that like they all work together, and it's also it's such a like connected community that and trade and profession and industry. So I think just keep doing it. And as long as you're moving forward in your stuff, you know,
Mhm.
I think if you are, there's places where you can plateau. The goal is to never plateau in the thing that you're doing. And I think if you plateaued, you should go do something else.
Mhm.
Meaning, if you've stopped learning, if you've stopped being curious, if you've stopped uh, thinking about the next thing as a challenge, as opposed to another thing I could do that was just like something else I did, that's probably when you can give that up, unless
Yeah,
there's a monetary value behind it. And then
totally.
it's like, I'm doing this for money, and that's the other kind of step in that trade. But
Yes.
if you're doing stuff not for money yet, and you're still enjoying it and growing, and you have the time for it, and you're not neglecting something else, I think it's so worth it to keep going in it,
Yeah.
as long as
So,
you're excited by it.
we're not only getting teases from you today, we're getting wisdom. And I do a bit, but that is very wise, and I think helpful things for not only myself, but other people to possibly even hear
Yeah.
today on this
Just
show.
be all you are. That's all it is
Yes,
for me. It's like allow it to happen. I think there's just so much criticalness that comes from what we do. It's like
definitely.
just let it be. It's existing. Don't argue at things as they come out. Let them come out. Whatever.
Yeah. You've already, like, gotten us sort of, like, and given me and the listener more information and more of a background on yourself just by us going through this conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about yourself, or something that you wanna promote today while you're here?
Oh man. Yeah, I when is this gonna come out, next week?
This will come out in about 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a podcast, Artists on Artists on Artists on Artists. I'd love for you to
Yes.
check it out. It's on YouTube. We do a lot of live episodes or in-person episodes. We also do some Zoom episodes. We're having a blast with that. We have Patreon too. Um, I have a podcast that's an official Margaritaville podcast called License to Chill, where we interview uh people not only about what they do, but how they relax and vacation. Got to
That's
interview
great.
Graham Nash, John Oates from Hall and Oates, interviewed
Whoa.
G Love, interviewed somebody from Los Lonely Boys, and then we do like podcasts where they send us on vacation. So we did an episode live from a gondola in Lake Tahoe, which was really fun.
Whoa.
Um, and we'd love some views on that. I'll tell you that much. Help us out. Send it to your dads. Help your dads download podcasts. That's been
Yes.
our hurdle. That's a challenge. These dads are gonna love it. They're gonna love it.
We just gotta get them, just be
Got
that
it.
bridge to
Yes.
understanding that
Take your dad's phone,
process.
search License to Chill, the Margaritaville podcast, or just Margaritaville podcast, but don't click the one that's just called Margaritaville podcast. Pick the one that's called License to Chill. Another barrier we have. And subscribe for your dad. Do him this solid.
Awesome.
Otherwise, yeah, if you're in LA, I have a show, a monthly show with this group Moon Goon that I direct, that we do City Walk the musical. I have a new musical coming out in June, and then I have a new show called Mamma Mia, but different, where we pick a writer to write their very own version of an ABBA jukebox musical. So they can write whatever they want. It's not just Sophie going to Greece. It's whatever plot they want. They just have to include 8 ABBA songs, and it's been this like
Yes.
massive new little fun, exciting show that people have been really digging. So come check us out live. I
Did
think
you
our next one
just
is
do
May
your
17th.
first
We did our
edition
first
of
one.
that?
It sold out in like 3 days, like a week
Wow.
before the show. And we were like, who's coming to this? What's happening? And now it's like, it's a little bit of a hot ticket. So May 17th is our next one. So come check that out. Jen D'Angelo, who wrote Hocus Pocus 2 and the new Hulu movie Quiz Lady, wrote this version of it. And all I
Oh
can
my
say is
gosh.
there's the rendition of Andante. Andante involves someone having sex with a cake. So you're going to want to check it out.
You just can't miss that. That's incredible.
Oh, and Patrick on Instagram. 4 Patricks.
Perfect.
Come find me.
Well, killer. Well, thank you for, not only getting the listener a little more familiar with you and what you do, but helping just walk me through some stuff as well.
Hey, of course, Connor, always.
I love it. We are going to talk about your history with video games in just a second. But before we do, will you please introduce what you've brought on for the main event later and call me by your game?
Yeah. Connor, you can call me by this name today. My name submitted for approval of the mid-size. Let me try it again. My name submitted for approval of the Midnight Society is Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Orpheo's Curse.
Cannot wait.
Oh, there
That's
the theme song from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, I clocked it immediately. It was didn't skip a beat.
Yeah,
And there's a higher
really
version of it.
Oh yeah, come on, millennials, get in here. Let's go.
This is what more could we want today? I am really excited to hear about this a little later in the show. Before we do, let's get into your history with games. Do you remember some of your earliest memories with video games?
Yeah, that is one of them, so I'll save that for
cool.
later. I really loved games from a very, very early age. Of course, I think so. We moved when I was like 6 or 7, and so I have this like memory that I have like pre that age is in this other house, and I'm always like, oh, it's a good way to like code like young childhood, where it's like that happened in another house, and if I had that memory, I can time exactly when that memory was because it was before I was 7 years old.
Okay.
I had Sega Genesis at maybe I want to say 3 years old. Whoa. 3 or 4 years. Like they were giving us games young. My dad and my mom. I was the last kid that they had. They had me at 39.
Nice.
And
which is when people start having kids nowadays.
Exactly. Isn't that interesting? And I was the 4th kid for my dad, the 2nd kid for my mom. I had 2 half siblings that were about 15 and 17 years older than me. But I used to play the Sega Genesis in my parents' room all the time. Sonic, I was obsessed with. I think Earthworm Jim, I was obsessed with. Wasn't there an Earthworm Jim?
Yes.
The 7-Up game, which I've talked to you about, where it's like they made a game. Cool Spot. I loved Cool Spot. Obsessed with that game. Duck Hunt. We had Duck Hunt for the Nintendo, so I also had Nintendo, and I loved Duck Hunt. And I was really, really, really into games. I had a Game Gear, which I think I still have.
Whoa.
And I was obsessed with that. That's the one that you stick a Game Gear that you hold.
It takes like 8 batteries or something like that.
Yeah, it takes so many batteries, and it has like a really sophisticated screen.
Yeah.
I remember I got it for Christmas, and my mom made me mad, and I threw it on the ground, and I broke it, and she said, that was a stupid thing to do. And
my gosh, eviscerated
you. Wrecked. And I cried, and I was like, you called me stupid. I think I was 4. I was like, you called me stupid. I can't believe you called me. And she was like, I didn't call you stupid. I said it was a stupid thing to do.
Oh my goodness.
But then we had to go return it, and I think I lost it. If I broke something, I lost it. We never got something back. It's like if you broke it, you're done, which I think is a great philosophy for kids. But I was really deeply into video games. One thing that I think I came alive in the Nintendo 64 era.
Yeah, you and I share that.
Okay, good. I love that. And I know, like, what's funny is, like, I think I was a pretty commercial gamer. There was wait, can you help me with this game?
Sure.
There was a game, and I can't remember what it was, and I can't even look it up. I've Googled it over and over and over and over again. I think this is time for you, Connor. This is huge.
Okay, I'm
this
ready.
Is the reason why I'm here. It was, I think you played ducks in space on a spaceship. It was a Sega Genesis game. It was either ducks or frogs. You were some sort of anthropomorphic animal, and you had guns, and you would walk around, and it was definitely Sega Genesis.
Oh,
And it
Sega
was like,
Genesis. No, it's not ringing a bell.
okay, if anybody out there is listening and
Yes.
remembers this, you were ducks, you had these blasters, and there was these giant, I think there were ships that were shaped like ducks.
Yes.
Anyways,
Oh, what
I
could
need some
that
help with
be?
that. But then
Gosh.
so transition, Andross's enemy is my enemy. Star Fox was big for me.
Oh,
Andross's enemy is my enemy.
that is one of the most quotable games that I still will say things from, or my best friend growing up, that was his like all-time favorite. And so
yeah.
we would constantly be seeing stuff like, who are these guys? Where's Star Fox? Just stuff like that.
And no barrel. I mean, that
Yeah.
was the big one, of course.
I guess I should be thankful. Is a classic Falco Lombardi one.
It's so funny. I know. I feel like there's like a lot of, in the comedy world, I feel like there's a lot of like beginning bases of like catchphrases and weird lines
Yes.
and character voices and stuff like that in video games I was really into.
Big time.
I just remembered a memory. What's funny is I played games pretty consistently through high school, but I was always Nintendo loyal.
Cool.
And so I think when that happens and you become Nintendo loyal, that was a really good way of transitioning out of video games from an early age. Because you go from like the Nintendo. I had a Dreamcast. I also had a
Ooh.
Sega Dreamcast, and I played that Sonic game, which I loved.
Whoa.
And then you transition into the Wii, and then the Wii is like you're a casual consumer. It's just been
Yes.
decided for you.
Yeah.
There was a game called Deadly Creatures that I loved on the Wii, which is you played as a spider or a tarantula, and one of the voices on it was Billy Bob Thornton. It was like an all-star cast. That
Amazing.
rocked. I loved
That
that
sounds
game.
like you just made it up, but I believe you.
Oh, you got to look up Deadly Creatures. I should have brought on Deadly Creatures. I love Deadly Creatures.
Hey, for your return, maybe.
Okay, I'll come back and do Deadly Creatures.
Yeah.
I completed Deadly Creatures all the way through.
Oh my gosh.
But then by that point, I think Xbox led to Fortnite, if you were in that world. And I just wasn't an Xbox person, and I didn't understand that. I was a Mario Party person. I was a Glover. We talked about Glover a lot on N64.
Yes.
Which is you play as a glove, look like the hamburger helper glove.
That was did you own that? Because I only ever like rented that once from Blockbuster.
It's super rare now, right? Don't people like love it? I still have it, I think.
It might be. They may have. I want to say that there was like a remaster that was announced for it.
Yeah.
I don't, if that is the case, it has not come out yet. But that was a game that I remember renting as a kid and being completely fascinated by. And just like, I loved the physics of how it worked with you're the glove, but you have to move on the ball.
Yeah.
That you
Oh,
walk
yeah.
on it or just roll.
Yeah. You just roll on the ball and you bounce on the ball and you bounce on top of things.
Still fascinates me.
It was beautiful. The mechanism was very gorgeous. Yeah, that was a huge game for me. And I gave a very kind of scattershot version of what I played on games, but it's because I haven't talked about this stuff in a long time.
Yeah.
I used to really, really love games, and I will go back and I'll watch playthroughs of games and I'll look at other stuff. And I just feel like it took me in a different direction. Of course,
Totally.
and then all the hits, Mario Party, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, of course. Like I was super into that. But I think it was a social thing for me. My mom and I, over the pandemic, when I went back to Colorado, my parents I'm from Texas, but my parents live in Colorado now. We had the Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, which is such a fun game.
Yes.
And my mom and I would play it, and I was like teaching her to play it.
Oh,
so that's like a very special game too, where it was like, oh, we get to like sit down, and she was so bad at it, and just watching her die over and over again as
just
Luigi
holding your Wiimote sideways.
Yeah, just holding it sideways and going, and her just like trying to teach her how to get on a Yoshi, and just like kind of patiently watching my mom not know how to get on a Yoshi was like such a special memory.
That's so good. Oh gosh.
I also want to give a special shout out. I had the PSP, and the King Kong game on the PSP was one of my favorites of all time. That game fucking rocked. I got it all the way through. I beat that game completely. Also the history is
movie, right?
It was based on the movie, the Peter Jackson film. Giant centipedes jumping out of nowhere. So fun, so good. I loved that game. I used to play it at night at like 1 a.m, like close to my face, because PSP graphics were too good for those handhelds. They were too good. It was gorgeous. But yeah, I a lot of movie tie-ins I would play because I was obsessed with movie. I was obsessed with Hollywood. I was obsessed with like uh all that stuff.
Did
So if there
you?
was a movie version of a game, I would try it.
I know you said you had a Dreamcast. Did you ever have a GameCube?
Never had a GameCube.
Hmm.
I had a Game Boy.
Yes.
But we just skipped over the GameCube and then I went to
Mhm.
the Wii.
Gotcha. There, I was asking because of, your status as a cinema lover.
Yeah.
Uh, there was this incredibly strange game released, I believe, at the GameCube's launch called something along the lines of like Universal Studios Hollywood Adventure, where you basically went to the Universal Studios theme park and all
Whoa.
of the games were like the rides, like Back to the
Wait.
Future. Woody Woodpecker is heavily featured in this game. Um,
I played a Disney version of that game, I think. Like on another platform. I
there
yeah.
there was like a few different Disney Parks games as well. One that the most recent one I think came out for the Xbox 360 slash Connect, I want to say, which was like, yeah, you could basically walk through Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it wasn't that, but it was like a game where it was like the rides come to life and you like play the rides. And there was
Oh.
very specifically a dinosaur ride that you
Mm.
would go in the ride. I kind of want to look this up, but you would like see these creatures from Dinosaur and you would like be in the ride and you'd walk through it all.
Like the movie
Like
Dinosaur?
the movie Dinosaur, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't remember
Weird.
what that was.
I
That also reminds me of like the Nickelodeon Slime Racers or whatever that was called, where it was like their version of it was not called Slime Racers,
but I
but
want it to be.
it was Slime Racers.
Yeah.
But it was like SpongeBob racing against Tommy Pickles.
Oh,
Like it was like whatever that
like
was.
Nickelodeon Cart or something.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was the best. I loved all of those.
This is such a hyper specific question, but I guessed right with you before the podcast. I'm going to try now. Do you remember when that movie Dinosaur came out? I
Yeah.
think it was like 1999. And do you remember the like dinosaur hand puppets that some like Burger King or McDonald's
McDonald's.
released?
I have them. I think I still have one. I
I knew
love
you would
those.
know this.
They were so thick. That
Yes.
plastic was so thick. And what's funny is I remember like I was like in the car with my friends, my friend Travis's sister Kelsey, and she was really little. And
Mhm.
she was playing she was like very quiet and never spoke. And then she was playing some character where she's like, hello, yo. And she was like doing it. And we were like, Kelsey's actually fucking funny, dude.
Oh my
Kelsey's
gosh.
coming out with it. And it was that toy.
You know what? Sometimes people just need a performance to come out of their shell.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like when you give like inmate Shakespeare is what that's exactly what it felt like. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, we really unlocked her. We really found her
Yes.
heart and her pathos.
Gosh, that's so good.
I loved those. Yeah.
Sorry to go down that thing. Just when you
Not
said
at
the
all.
movie, that's what I think of when I think of the movie Dinosaur are
Yeah.
those hand puppets. From
I think
McDonald's.
about that. And I also think about there was so much stuff about how that movie was animated, but it used real backgrounds. And so
Oh.
that was like what was so cool about it. But I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, they just drew onto pictures,
Yeah.
which is cool too. I mean, like that's
Fucking
great.
cheaters.
Cheaters, dude. Draw the fucking leaves, dude.
Yeah. That's so good.
Oh, so you didn't have background animators? All right, dude.
Gosh.
You use stock images? Awesome, dude.
Betraying artists, dude.
Really cool, dude.
I've like sorry to get us so sidetracked.
Not at all.
Didn't think we'd be talking about the movie Dinosaur so much today. But you said that I kind of had a similar experience where the Wii was kind of, at least for a time, that led into like a lull of gaming for me.
Yeah.
What is your relationship like with games nowadays? Do you play at all? Do you have a console?
I don't play. I'm trying to think what I do. I wish I did.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about getting into games actually. The Switch was very exciting for me because I'm Nintendo loyal.
Yes.
And I thought about getting a Switch. I actually looked into buying it and then I couldn't find one for whenever I was trying to buy
Probably
it.
the pandemic when they
Yeah, I
all
think it was.
disappeared.
They disappeared for
Yeah.
a year, I think. And so I couldn't do it. But there was something I would love to play some of those like old adventure games. I did bring my Nintendo 64 back out and I got
Huge.
really into playing Super Smash Brothers alone to try to
Oh,
unlock all the characters again.
I love that
And
original game.
oh my God, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, it's so gorgeous. It's so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. And it's so fun. And then, getting all those characters is like such a big deal. I just had a random memory that
Yeah.
isn't related to this that I want to bring up. It's funny because my mom, we would play Sega Genesis, and there was this one time where I rented the Pocahontas video game when I was like
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5, and I um let my mom start playing it, and my mom got addicted to it and had to finish it in like a night. And we were like sitting around waiting for her, and she's like, I just gotta finish this, I just gotta do this.
Oh
And we
my
were like,
gosh.
what's happening, mom? And she's like, I have to get through. And it's like she's like running and getting like this spirit, because you would like imbue all these spirits, and then these
Oh,
spirits would push you forward, and they were really cool. But she got so addicted to it, and we were like, mom, we gotta go to bed. Like, I
yeah.
don't
Was she like in your room?
we were in her room.
Oh, in her.
The room
Oh,
was in her
duh.
parents' the room, the
The
game
game.
console was in my
Yeah.
parents' room. Yeah, it wasn't in the living room.
Mine started out in
It
there
was.
too, and it was a great way for my parents to restrict me from
Yeah,
playing all the time.
exactly. And they were
Yeah.
like, "You're not gonna fucking take our TV." Also,
Yeah.
like, you're not gonna. No, you're gonna go in the quiet room and you're gonna play
Yes.
this stupid loud game.
Gosh.
Um. But yeah. Anyways, I really wish that I actually played more, but I feel like I missed the boat a little bit. And what's funny about it is my TikTok knows that I like
Mm.
games, and I get so much um game stuff because
Yeah.
I'll go into the lore, and I'm just getting so many Fortnite clips right now. And I've never
Wow.
played Fortnite, and I
Mhm.
just sit and I watch, like, it's always like, who remembers this incredible event in Fortnite when like the asteroid hit the earth? And then it's like all these people, and then there's like this sweet, sad, sentimental music because all these gamers be like, this is it, boys. Here we go, boys.
Yeah.
And there's also this one guy that's like, he dresses as a banana, and he finds other people, and he turns he's like, I'm a banana, if you know what I mean. And then he finds the other bananas, and they look, stare at each other, and then they start dancing, and then they go
Yes.
like, we are both platanitos, we all just grow on, please don't you murder me, we are just
Oh,
platanitos, most of us grow on trees. And then another banana will come out of nowhere, and then we are both platanitos. And then so I'm like, but I've seen this clip like 50 times, and I
yes.
don't play Fortnite, and I don't
Gosh.
play.
Gosh. You
But what's
just
happening in
you
there?
watched one, you didn't scroll away from one Fortnite clip fast
Yeah.
enough, and now this is your
And I'm full
algorithm.
Fortnite feed. So I feel like I play Fortnite.
Yeah.
It seems
You're
like a fun world.
yes. That's great. I love that you brought your N64 back with you as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing to just have whenever you want. But hey,
It's nice.
from one gamer to a potential one, it's never too late. If you're interested,
Maybe I'll get back
it's
in.
always gonna be there.
Maybe you can help me. Like, maybe I can, because I love immersive worlds, and I
Mhm.
love, like, when The Last of Us, the video game, came out, I read so much about it,
Oh, wow.
and I like looked into it because like that's one of my biggest fears is like mushrooms and spores and being
Oh,
taken over by
mhm.
some sort of fungus. And so I loved reading about it, and I was like, oh, that would be so fun to. And I watched playthroughs of it. I just feel like maybe I'm like a closeted gamer, Connor.
Possibly. You're just ready to break
I've
out.
been closeted many things before. We've cleared that out, so maybe I need
Yes.
to come out.
Those
We need to.
closets cleared. This one's
Yeah,
still active.
this is the only one that's still got a lock on it, and I don't know
Yes.
why, because it's so widely accepted. I think I
Yeah.
get nervous that I have this like internal drive to be productive, and it makes me
Yes.
nervous that I won't be productive
Yeah.
if I game.
I
Uh,
totally understand that. That's
yeah,
as someone who uh has like a similar thing and also spends a lot of time playing games. It is still it's definitely a balance.
yeah.
But I believe in you and it's possible and I'm
I'm
around
gonna
if you
try.
want help.
Okay, thank you. I
You
might
betcha.
actually ask you because I think it could be really fun.
Truly.
Um, yeah. What if I were to pick up a console like in the next few weeks? What's the most exciting current console?
I
That's
would
like immersive, interesting, creative storytelling.
that well the PlayStation 5 is a huge investment because it's like
Mm,
$500.
yeah.
But that probably has the best mix of like um incredible narrative storytelling games and also games that are quite immersive in their worlds. I think though I would probably steer you towards the Switch because it
Okay.
still has many of those types of experiences while not having the highest fidelity graphics or the more powerful engines. So,
Yeah. I was
um,
a big PS2 fan,
yes,
and PlayStation fan.
mhm.
And I have been watching a lot of playthrough of the Spider-Man games. So those look really fun too.
That could be, and those are so good. Like
They
that
look
could just be a
amazing.
great fit for you.
And is the Justice League one or the Suicide Squad one, is that PS5 too?
I believe so.
Because I've been
Yes.
watching a lot of playthrough of that. I'm telling you, I
It
know all about
it
games, but I
you're
don't
up to
play
date.
games.
You listen
Yeah.
to video game podcasts. It's your
Yeah,
algorithm.
exactly. It's
You're
great. Well,
locked in.
yeah, I also wanted to just disclose too that I was a kid that was so obsessed with um the books of used to go to Blockbuster and used to buy the cheat books, the
I
cheat codes
love
books.
players guides.
Obsessed with those.
Yes.
And I'd look through the code and I'd be like, oh, I play Banjo Kazooie. Oh, I can give them all big heads or whatever it was. Like
Yeah.
I do all the cheats, and I would just like read over them over and over and over. And I'd be like,
Yes.
oh, because it was such an exciting thing to see what you could do with all those games. And I
Yep.
remember the Aladdin game on the Sega Genesis. I think it was like A B up down, and you could skip the level, or
Whoa.
B up down, or something like that, and you could just skip levels. And that
Dang.
was like a big thing. And I used to just jump to like the genie level, which was the fucking best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about I think that was my intro to players guides was seeing them at Blockbuster
Yeah.
and being like, I'm stuck in a level. Do they have the answer for me?
Yeah.
Uh I still have like all of the ones I know I didn't have that many, but I maybe had like 12 as a kid
Yeah. I had
and
a
I
lot.
still got them and they're fun to like we played through the original Pokemon games last year for we do like a games club series every
Oh,
quarter.
fun.
Yeah. And so I have my original Pokemon player's guide that's just in terrible shape, but
Yeah.
it's still so fun to flip through and look at the old art and hear all the secrets.
Yeah.
But that's great. Is there before we wrap up and head to break, is there a game or anything from your history that you haven't quite gotten a shout out yet that you'd like to, or did we get to cover it?
Well, you did say Pokemon, and I loved I was Blue. I was Pokemon Blue.
Okay,
I played
nice.
that pretty fastidiously. And then I think for my 10th birthday we went to Orlando, and my parents gave me and my brother $100 to spend however we wanted at FAO
Whoa.
Schwartz, which was we felt like
Oh,
millionaires, right? Pretty fun game for my birthday. But
yes.
I just bought I think I bought a I didn't buy a whole new Game Boy. Maybe I did, but I bought the yellow, Pokemon Yellow,
Yellow.
where you start with
Oh,
the Pikachu, and that
so
was a
much
big deal.
fun.
I honestly, I need to like sit down and like compose my thoughts, because this is unlocking so much for me, that
Yes.
gaming was such a deep part of my life. What is that video game? Echo with the dolphin?
The Echo the Dolphin, yeah.
Yeah, I played Echo. I was a big fan of Echo. And let me see if there's anything else that I don't want to leave lost to history.
For sure.
Smuggler's Run. Big Smuggler's Run fan.
Oh, what is that? Is that also a Genesis
Smuggler's Run was
game?
like no, it was a PS2 game.
Okay,
One of the
gotcha.
first ones. And it was like
Hmm.
a contraband, kind of like you pick up contraband and you drive it to another place.
Okay, I see.
And I'll say one more thing.
Yes,
Okay, and
please.
that's it. When I was like 15 years old, no, maybe 13 or 14, I had PS2. I played a lot. I saw Grand Theft Auto Vice City was coming out. I said to my parents, listen, I don't want this game. I'm a good boy. I don't. It was so much rumors, so many
Mhm.
rumors about it being gross, and you beat up old ladies, and it's graphic and whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not joking, and I'm not being coy. I do not want this game. I told
Yes.
them. I said, I'm not saying it like please get me this game. I'm saying it like don't get me this game.
Yes. I'm putting up a boundary here.
Yeah, I'm putting a boundary here. I know you probably think I'm gonna want it because it's popular.
Yes.
I don't want it. It's crass, it's crude, and it's unlikable. They got it for me for Christmas. I fucking loved it. Absolutely loved it. I mean, oh.
That probably seemed like you were doing that intentionally.
I know. They gave it to me. And I literally was like, I hung out with Mormons. I didn't curse. I didn't want that. Might have been my unlocking of like cursing because I curse a
Yes.
lot now. I'm like
Yeah.
really dirty. Like somebody made of our
You're not
artist
afraid to
artist
throw out
podcast.
a swear.
I swear all the fucking time. Somebody made like their favorite Patrick McDonald moments on YouTube, and it's all me making the most disgusting, graphic, vile stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, putting it all together. I'm just like as a character saying that like I work in Disneyland and like as Gaston and all these women want me to suck their pussy. It's stuff like that. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I can say it now because I've said it before. It's graphic. And I'm like, I don't mean to do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Another earworm of a phrase is the old woman in Grand Theft Auto Vice City going like, chicken shit, you little chicken shit. That's like a line that I'll never forget.
It's just going to stick with you forever.
Yeah. And so that was shout out to Grand Theft Auto Vice City and that one ramp that if you go over it in slow motion, it films it.
Yeah.
There's one specific ramp where you shoot up and it's like, so I would just get in all the cars. I do the cheat where you could get the tank and I do the tank on the ramp.
It does like a cinematic moment sort of.
Yeah.
That is incredible. It feels like we're just unearthing. It's like we're the early archaeologists in your history with games.
Yeah.
Just scratching the surface.
It's like literally, this is like a game therapy session. And I thank you, everyone, for figuring out my esoteric, non-linear dive into my brain through this. If you've joined me on this journey, because it's a lot. And I'm like, oh, I got to sit down and like, I buried all of the love that I've had for games, like but I clearly know games. I've clearly gamed.
Totally. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's all authentic. It's all real.
It's all real. What if I'm reading a script right now? I'm just going off of
like, wow, you really wrote this in a fever dream.
Yeah. This is a V1, right?
Yes, of course.
This is the first draft.
Yes. Well, this has been so much fun to hear from you about, at least a part of your history with games leading up to today. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll finally get into all things. Are You Afraid of the Dark? The tale of Orpheo's curse. So, Patrick, I'll see you on the other side.
See you on the other side.
Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?
I sure don't want to, but I will.
I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive by telling you about Super NPC Radio's upcoming BioShock Games Club series, only at patreon.com/supernpcradio. Would you kindly do that?
I didn't want to listen to an entertaining and funny Games Club series about the original BioShock before, but now I simply must.
Would you kindly listen to the Games Club? It's available at the $5 DJ Toad tier with new episodes every Friday.
Weird. The more this guy asks us to do stuff, the more I want to do it.
Same. I might have to subscribe at the $5 DJ Toad tier at patreon.com/supernpcradio after all. Look, it's our friend Otacon.
Sure, Mr. Atlas. I'll piss myself, but only because you asked me specifically to do so.
I didn't ask you to piss yourself.
Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game. I, Connor McCabe, am still here with Patrick McDonald. Patrick, welcome back.
Thanks for the break. I took a cold shower to calm down.
Wow. Hey, you know what? I probably should have done the same because I was just so hyped up and heated.
You got me really. I mean, I unlocked some memories. I can't stop smiling thinking about all the games that I've played.
It's a common thing, and I love to watch someone go through that experience on the show. Well, we're here to finally get into the main event, which you've brought on. Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Orpheo's Curse.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I'm going to do a little table setting for this this game and what it is. But if you want to jump in with any context or bullet points, like, you got the green light.
Thank you. Yeah. So this game came out in, I think, 94, which I was born in 1990. And I believe that means that if I got this in 94 or 95, this was definitely like first house style.
Yes.
And so I was either 3 or 4 when playing this game.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other CD-ROM games that we had. There was one that was like Geography Explorer or something like that.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome. That game was amazing. This Global Explorer that had a parrot on it. That was like so cool. I've already mentioned this. This is like one of the most deeply millennial things that I could talk about, which is like before the internet and before all this other stuff, we had these games, but this game was massive. I was the biggest Are You Afraid of the Dark fan. I think my first memory ever, literally, I think like the moment I zapped into consciousness was I was at a Target by my house. We were buying Twizzlers to go watch Snick because my mom kept being like, it's Snick tonight. It's Snick tonight. Aren't you excited? It's Snick tonight. Like, because I guess she was probably watching Nickelodeon with me all day and we saw promos for Snick and she's like, this will be fun.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it's Snick. Can't you remember Snick?
While I play Pocahontas.
Exactly. Get him in the living room. I can get in there, get my ass to get the spirit bear and then get fucking going. Yeah. So I remember it was, it was all that. It was Keenan and Kel, and it was Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it was one other show that probably was one season.
Was that the Saturday Night Nick
lineup? Nick, yeah, with the big orange couch.
Yes.
And maybe it wasn't even Keenan and Kel yet, but it was definitely Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because that show I became so deeply obsessed with. I was so into it. There's, they always throw something on the fire and it lights the fire up. I remember this sounds bad maybe. My parents had like a Crown Royal bag that I stole and I covered it in ash and I used to run around and like play around like throwing it on things hoping it would turn things. I was walking around like that sounds like the trashiest thing in the world.
Yes,
like a kid with a bag full of ash, Crown Royal bag full of ash throwing it all over the place.
Oh, that's good.
That's so sad. That's by himself in the woods throwing ash from a Crown Royal bag onto different rocks. Yeah. I don't know what I was doing.
Tell me a story.
Yeah. So when this game came out, that was a huge deal for me because I was a big fan of the IP, obviously, and I called it IP back then too. I've always been that guy. Yeah. I coined the term as a kid, as a 3-year-old.
You already had executive energy from the age of 3.
I said, this is an immersive experience that I'm excited to enjoy.
Yes.
I would like to purchase this game. So I got this game and I remember playing it and being very scared by it. And I also historically have gotten stuck at so many levels. And I remember getting stuck at a certain part, which I won't, I don't have to spoil it yet, but I just remember this image over and over again. And then I have a tease for why this game is important to me later.
Ooh.
So that's a tease. But it's deeply important and has implications for the rest of my life.
Wow. No, that's a tease right there, baby. Well, to set the stage a bit, you are correct. This game came out in 1994. It was originally released for DOS and Macintosh. So this is before, right before, I believe, Windows was even its own operating system.
So this was on my parents' Acer computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which now I just know for their monitors. I don't even know if they make other computer parts.
I wonder if it was. Oh, it must have been a Windows. It must have just been an Acer monitor. I was 4.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Really, it was definitely an Acer monitor.
4-year-old memory.
What a fucking idiot, dude.
Gosh, don't get me started. This game was developed by Viacom New Media, which I'm gonna talk about a little later as well in your fun facts section. I have some fun stuff to share.
Fun facts about Viacom. I feel like I'm at a conference.
We're talking Viacom. We're talking IP. We're talking butts and seats. Yeah,
talking mergers.
Yeah,
acquisitions. Great.
Obviously based on the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's been described as a Myst clone. Are you familiar with the game Myst?
I wasn't familiar with that at all. And we watched a long play version of this on YouTube. There's one that has 70,000 views that you can see that somebody played the whole game through. And you can check that out if you go to YouTube.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's a Myst clone? What's Myst?
I see the comparison. Myst was a very popular computer game from maybe the year before that also was from... Because this game essentially operates from the first-person perspective of the brother and sister main characters, where you click through. You don't just walk through in real time a space. You sort of click to the next section of it, and then your perspective changes to that. You can turn. Myst,
like Google Street View.
It truly was. That is very. Sadly, very apt. And that's what Myst was kind of like, where you're also solving puzzles, opening stuff up, reading things. So I see that. And there's a lot of I think it gets the Myst comparison too, because there's a lot of pre-rendered this game is mostly pre-rendered graphics, where
Yeah.
what we're seeing on the screen looks sort of photorealistic in a way in 3D,
Yeah.
but they're accomplishing that because it's essentially like just a JPEG that's on the screen
Yes.
for the most part.
Correct. Yeah.
Producers from the network behind the brand collaborated with developers and oversaw the making of this game. And it was part of a trend that saw Hollywood studios, this is one of the earlier trends, making video game adaptations of projects. But this, I guess, posed a challenge to, for the first time, to SAG due to residuals, actor salaries,
No
dense
way.
scripts, and the realities of filming, I guess. And because they were doing, essentially making a TV episode,
Yeah.
but they were like, it's
Yeah.
a game, so do the contracts work the same way? So I think it was one of the earliest.
That's so interesting. It's funny you say that because I was watching the playthrough and the actors, the voice actors, like especially the females, like voice actors are really good. And I was
Yeah.
like, this acting is great. And I think that probably is one of the reasons it hooked me, is that it was so
Probably.
engaging. And like the older women that are like, please help us save the curse. Like help us. I'll make sure that he never does this thing again. Like,
Yes.
I'll make sure
Oh.
he never does a performance ever again. Like whatever it is. It's
They
crazy.
really do act their asses off in this
They
game.
are.
And
They're
it's something
going
that
for
like
it.
I would love to be a part of something like this today, or like
Yeah.
do voice acting for a game, especially like
too.
something like this that is so fun for kids. But we just laid out some very basic information. The game, essentially, the setting is that you are playing as a brother and sister who are venturing into this closed down theater, and essentially uncovering this mystery because it's you're not sure, like, is this place haunted? What's going on here?
I believe colorblind casting, by the way. Shout out. I
What
think
do
the
you mean by
sister
that?
isn't the sister black and then the brother is white?
Oh, she might be.
You don't even think about it. Or maybe I
No.
made that up. I think
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. I believe she is.
Totally could be.
Yeah.
I'm just erasing that from my memory.
you
of
don't
the
see
long
color,
play
so
I
it's like
watched.
that.
No, that's actually the cool thing about me is I don't see color. And please print that. That's gonna be the highlight from this
Anyways,
episode.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's leave with that. You won't cut that.
Yeah, no way.
But yeah, they are sneaking into this old rundown theater.
Yes.
And they quickly get into some trouble, basically.
Yes.
And there's a kind of a ghost of a magician named Orpheo that is there. It's his theater. And then there's all these museums and these weird little exhibits below
Yes.
in that area.
Yes.
And that is, specifically, and I think it's choose your adventure. They're also like, there's a moment where they cut to the actual Midnight Society from the show. And they go like, you're telling a new story. We can't wait to hear how your story ends. So it's all choose your own adventure, like based
Yes.
on like how you get through this thing on your own. And there's different endings and different scenarios. And you get killed or the story ends or whatever. So you have to try to find a satisfying ending.
No, you might be able to tell me, because I definitely watched the show a little growing up, but not quite as religiously as you. Sounds like
Big
you
deal for
have.
me. Yeah.
Now, it seems like one of the cool things about this game is that you are essentially playing a kid at the campfire in the Midnight Society, and this is your sort of your story you're telling.
It was a big deal for me. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be your story, and so you have to navigate through it to figure out the next steps.
Yes.
I loved that. That was a huge deal for me. I'll tell you that. So there's this museum section where they get stuck down there, and there's a weird section. I don't know if you got to it in the video, Connor, but there's a moment where you can see there's like somebody drawing, and then when you click closer to them, their faces change, and they're like, when they get closer, they're like, do something different.
Oh yeah, they always like snap at you. Not
yeah,
snap
they kind of
at you,
snap at you.
Yeah.
And there's this caveman that every time you get to him, he's like, and he like throws this club at you.
Yes.
And I remember being stuck down in that specific section. I've had a history of being stuck places. I had to stop playing Kingdom Hearts because I couldn't get off that damn beach. I know everyone else relates to it, but I couldn't. I was like, oh, the freaking Jack Skellington's waiting for me. Too bad I can't get off the damn beach.
Yeah.
Pissed me off.
I'm in the tutorial section. Dang.
Yeah, I'm like, no cheat codes in my books. Can't get off this damn beach. I don't give a shit about Ryu or whoever this is.
Yeah.
Is that a character in that?
I think it's Riku. Riku.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I meant.
Yeah,
It didn't
you're
matter
close
because I
enough.
didn't meet him very much because we didn't get off the damn beach.
Oh, don't get me started.
I would tend to get stuck in places, and I remember being stuck in that specific section, and I kept clicking on that caveman, and he kept doing that, and it was freaking me the fuck out as a kid. I was like, this is so weird.
Yes.
This is so hard to figure out.
It's the game, I think, because it's, you know, these pre-rendered graphics and it's not quite like real-time motion. It is unsettling.
It is spooky.
But in
it
kind of
is
an
really,
exciting way.
really strange.
Yeah.
And it's there's something about the mood and the aesthetic and the vibe of it that is very disturbing and weird and immersive and like creepy. And the music is like that ding, 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 like very like creepy. I highly suggest the playthrough. It's a really good time. But I will say, I think it is so moody that when I was watching this, I realized that I believe this area or a mood or a version of this area is one of the locations of a recurring dream that I have to this day.
No way.
And because I always am like, it's like an orange room where there's lights, and it's I know that it's vaguely related to Are You Afraid of the Dark, but I don't know why. And something weird is always happening. It's kind of like it's a theater. It's like a theater with theater lights, and there's an orange room, and there's posters, and it is this game.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
This game means a lot to me because it literally affected my psyche in a way that I still think about it. It's still in my brain because it was that effective to me.
Wow. It really imprinted on you.
Really imprinted on me. And like, and in a way that like it, every time I have a nightmare, that's basically, this is the setting that the nightmare is at. And I was watching it today and I realized that, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a nightmare tonight. I'm going to be back in the recurring place.
Yes.
It's always this like really deeply unsettling space.
Totally. It's coming from such a place of like fear rooted in your childhood, which is, I mean, you talked about this game being formative, and formative maybe even in that way for you.
Yeah, totally. Really formative. And the fact that it's like the base of my feelings of fear and anxiety.
Yes.
Rest in the tale of Orpheo's curse.
Let that be a lesson to parents who let their kids play video games.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a heads up. Whatever game you let them play around 3 or 4 years old, still a little early for games, if you ask me. Just a reminder that might embed in their brain forever. Yeah.
And some kid out there, their nightmares have to do with some obscure duck or frogs with guns in space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever
So
that
it's somewhere
game is.
ducks or frogs with guns in space. Who played that? Maybe what if the game is called Ducks or Frogs with Guns in Space? It probably is.
I think it should be. Well, so do you remember when because you already walked us through, I think, did you walk us through how you got this game? Was it at that Target or the store you were
it wasn't
talking
at the
about?
Target. I don't honestly remember how I got this game. It must have been bought for me, or it might have been a Christmas gift or something, but I don't remember buying the game. I just honestly remember the caveman, and I remember the mood and the vibe because it's been in my dreams since then for 30 years.
Goodness. Is this something that any of your siblings played, or was this like just a Patrick thing?
This was just me. When I was on the computer, we would not, like, my brother was not doing computer games like I was. I was just playing this game alone. My neighbor across the street, Reese Leroy, shout out Reese if you're listening. I don't know where he went. You know, I haven't talked to Reese Leroy since then. But Reese Leroy, if you know him, let me know. Would love to reconnect with him through this podcast.
Let's stay on Reese for another 5 minutes.
Great. Let's talk about Reese Leroy for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But Reese, I think, played the game with me. And I played at his house maybe, but I remember him being loosely connected to this game as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are there other aspects of the game that maybe jogged your memory when you were watching this playthrough that were quite visceral?
Yes, the cursors. The cursor would change. The cursor changes to an eye, and it changes to like a finger or a hand. And I was a huge fan of changing my cursors, and I probably learned it from this game. where I don't
Wow.
know if you would download new cursors for your desktop computer, but like I would download like a banana. So then when my dad was like doing his work on the computer, he'd have to use the banana. Like I was like changing the cursor left and right. I thought it was hilarious. Or like a little guy or whatever. It's so
Yeah.
sad. He's like laying somebody off via email, and he's like moving his little banana
Yes.
around the screen. My parents were also just old enough to not be able to do anything that I did, like, or undo anything that I did on a computer, because I
Yes.
knew enough of how to do something, and there's no way they could figure it out. So they just be
Yeah.
like, I guess it's this now.
Gosh, for me back then too, it was like, oh, we're just getting a new computer, or like we
Yeah,
need it
yeah,
fresh
yeah.
because there's no undoing what horrors you have wrought.
It was so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was that the cursors are really specific
Yeah,
and
which
distinct.
are tied to like different actions in the game. Like the
Yeah.
eye, as one could guess, will help you look closer at something. The different fingers either can like have you click something or move forward in the space, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that was a big thing for me. And then what else? I feel like I probably watched it and ran away. Or like I would like play it and run away, because I
Yeah.
feel like that's what I used to do. I did that. We used to hide behind the stairs when something was scary on the TV, and I think I would play it and be
Oh,
like, oh, and I'd run away.
yeah.
But I think there was like also a morbid fascination with it, where I'd like get drawn into it.
Absolutely. Like kind of an early instance of like I was a very much a scared kid, but
Yeah.
sometimes when that fear is like exciting, maybe that's what you're getting into of like the
Yeah.
morbid fascination of it.
Yeah, totally. I would
Yeah.
just be like, "Oh, I hate this. This is
Yeah.
scary. This isn't good." But also, like, yeah, it was all friendly. I mean, it was all like nothing's awful, like really
Yeah.
crazy. But it also reminded me when we were watching, because there's like a woman's head flies at them or something, and then like,
Yes.
oh, it's just a wax figure. But that felt exactly like a classic Hook
Mm-hmm.
teaser that they would do at the end of before commercial breaks in Are You Afraid of the Dark. They always used to do that, like a big reveal. They'd be like, "Boo-doo-doo,"
Yes.
and then to come back and be like, it's actually not that. But like you always for a second would be like, whoa.
Oh,
Mm.
interesting.
And so they have the style of the show. It was very sophisticated, to be honest, as like a translation of the show.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, often, you know, because the show is going to be like a 22-minute maybe episode, and this
Yeah.
is potentially hours of an experience that the kids could do. So they really had to expand it out, but
They
still
did.
sounds like they accomplished that same tone and feeling of the
Yeah.
show.
Totally. And it's funny too, to get to the caveman section. It was like an hour into this playthrough.
Mhm.
And for me to watch all the other stuff and know that as a 3-year-old, I figured all of that out.
Yeah.
As I was watching it now, I was like, I can't figure this out right now. What are we looking for? What's
Yeah.
going on? It's like an escape room. Like it's like
Yes.
literally like,
Mhm.
figure this out, move this, put these eyes in this wax figure's head, and then like you get into this next thing. I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I did them when I was 3.
I
I'm
wouldn't
proud
have
of
even
myself.
guessed that there was an inventory until like the person playing on the long play like moved their cursor high enough to where like suddenly there was like a menu with 4 options at the top.
Yes.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you just have stuff in your bag too. That was more sophisticated than I expected, honestly.
It was pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like pretty good. Like I had that, and I had the Toy Story PC game,
Oh, wow.
which I vividly remember, which was also pretty rough. So,
Oh.
I mean, these games, and then of course the World Explorer,
Yes.
which we discussed. So yeah, but this was a big deal.
I would love, we've gotten like some really great details about the game. I want to get into the, your life context a little more, even though it's quite early in your life. Can you start by doing some scene painting for me of where this computer was set up and what the room was like?
Yeah, so this was in the upstairs office, and the office itself had this really interesting, like, it was like upstairs, and the roof shaped the ceiling. And so there was like this window that if I'm staring at it, the computer is facing the wall.
Okay.
But to the right of you, if you're sitting at the computer, there's this bright window on this kind of like weird oblong kind of barn-like door wall that would like, so it was just this like weird attic-y vibe, office-y vibe. There was that classic kind of sharp plastic, spiky
Oh, yes. What was that?
It was like an office chair that, you'd put it on top of a carpet and then you could roll your
Oh.
office chair around.
I see.
But it was really spiky on the bottom. So it was plastic on the top and it was spiky on the bottom. So it would like attach to the carpet. But I
Yes.
used to put my hand under and I used to press my hand on the spiky
Yes.
part.
Yeah.
I used to love it because it was like sharp enough that it would like hurt. It wouldn't hurt, but it
You
would
can make
be
little
like
indentations on your
you'd
hand.
make indentations. I'd like sit on it and like sit on my hand. And then it was always like my parents' mail was like right next to the computer.
Mhm.
And then the computer was this big thing. And then I had my little keyboard that I would use and sitting in my little office chair. It's so funny to think about that because I'm so little in this big chair.
Yes.
And now I'm big in a little chair.
Wow, how things change.
How things change, huh? Take me back. Ugh, I wish I could be little in a big chair. Oh
We just
gosh.
need to get you a giant chair, and it might.
Yeah, I gotta go to
solve
some
the
more
issue.
tourist traps where they have big joke chairs.
Yes. Why is that a thing at
don't
tourist
know.
traps of like these giant chairs to sit in?
Isn't that funny? And it's
Yeah.
just like, look how little I am in this big chair in Wyoming.
Yeah, worth it.
Why? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's probably a good place to put like a label or something. But
Ugh.
yeah, and so I would sit in there. I feel like it was mostly in the afternoon that I would play. I wouldn't play this at night. Obviously,
Mhm.
I'd be going to bed.
Yeah.
But and then I feel like I did have like a neighborhood of kids that I
Oh,
I
wow.
like have a vivid memory of like playing this game and then like being called down to go play outside. And we
Yeah,
used to
because
play
this is still
pretend.
Texas time, right?
This is Texas, yeah.
Mhm.
This is outside of Dallas in this little tiny neighborhood, and it was
Mhm.
really sweet. And it was like we used to run around, and I remember playing like, what is this character that I'm thinking of? We were playing like my friend Reese Leroy wanted to play Sonic the Hedgehog,
Mhm.
but I wanted to be an original character named Tiger. I was a tiger. I think I was a tiger named Shadow.
That's great because there would be a Sonic character named Shadow who is just the dark version of.
Okay, cool.
It was your
Well,
idea.
I preempted it.
Yeah.
I preempted it, dude. I'm suing their ass.
You should. You got Reese to back you up.
Yeah, Reese, where are you? I need your legal help.
Mr.
Reese,
McDonald,
come back
where's
into my
your
life.
witness? Yeah.
Reese, he's coming. I swear. I talked about him on a podcast. He'll be here any minute. But yeah, I feel like we used to play like have little block plays and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and we used to do. I remember like making a portfolio of drawings of monsters because I wanted to do a play about monsters, and I
Whoa.
drew all the costumes for what the monsters would be, and it was like 30. And I loved the portfolio because it was this blue portfolio that had a string around it.
Yeah.
It was like paper, and I remember like wrapping it up and being like, "This is my portfolio full of drawings for the monsters for when we do the play about monsters."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How
so I haven't really.
organized.
I know I haven't changed very much, Connor. This has
No.
kind of been me.
You're
for
like
my whole life.
making it. It is an interesting peek into your life though, because you're someone who I look at it. I'm like, you make a lot happen for yourself. You are not afraid to get things that you're interested in off the ground,
Yeah, for sure.
creatively especially. So like, it's so funny to know that like 4-year-old you was doing the same thing with this play.
Always.
Did it ever get off the ground? Did you have this
No.
play?
No, and I remember I had because it was like, where do I start? I got to make
Yeah.
these costumes. I don't even know.
And these are
but
all IP, so
These are all IP. No, they were original monsters.
nice.
They were completely original. Yeah.
Wow.
But they were all different kinds of creatures. But it was just too hard to figure it out, which is unfortunate. But maybe I'll start a Kickstarter and I'll make it happen.
Oh wow.
But anyways, yeah. So that was kind of the vibe and the era of that
That's cool.
place. But the game itself, I just really remember playing it in that office because you can't play it anywhere else. There's not like
No.
another place. You got to be on the desktop.
Yeah, that was. It is funny to remember. We had a computer with games and stuff growing up, and yeah, it was in my dad's office as well. And like that was the
Yeah.
place where I had to play games, which we couldn't. Well, this is different. I'm thinking later. I'm thinking of when we had AIM and stuff, and which is obviously after 4 years old.
Yeah.
And only being able to be on if someone wasn't on the phone.
Yeah.
Different sort of setup.
Yeah.
Are there any other memories you haven't gotten to share yet, whether it comes to the game itself or just that context?
I think I've done it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that happened for me with this game.
Yeah.
I just remember really deeply liking it and really being affected by it and it being in my dreams. And I don't think I shared it. So I think it was like a very private experience with me. Because no
Yeah.
one would come watch me play it. They would just let me go do it.
Totally.
And it's very interesting because I probably had this before I had the Sega Genesis. When did the Sega Genesis come out?
I think the Genesis was earlier than this.
Earlier than this?
Yeah.
Yeah, or it was, yeah, it must have been I must have gotten the Genesis. Because if I got this when I was 3 or 4, I think that I probably didn't get the Genesis when it came out.
Sure.
Right? I had no clue of news or what it was. I just remember my dad coming home and being like, "I got you a video game. I got you Sega Genesis." Setting it up, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is the thing that I'm supposed to love." Okay,
Yes.
and I did. Like it wasn't like I was so young. It's not like I was asking for it.
Yes.
It just he knew that I think my dad was excited that he could get something for me. As like a suburban middle-aged dad.
Yeah.
He was like stoked that he thought I would like it, and he was right. But I remember being like, so I play this?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is another toy?
Yes.
And then like that's what it was for me.
And it clicked for you.
Yeah. So this must have been before I had the Sega Genesis, because you probably wouldn't have been able to peel me away. But there was an exotic feeling about a CD-ROM because that felt very exciting because it was like it's on the computer, but how do I play a game on the computer?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it might have been after too. We'll never know. Too early to know.
If only.
If only.
Well, on our way out, before we head to the post-show segments, will you do me a favor and just sort of like wrap up the place that Are You Afraid of the Dark, The Tale of Orpheo's Curse held for you looking back?
Yeah, it was a time of exploration, a time of innocence, a time of experience. It was Are You Afraid of the Dark? Tale of Orpheo's Curse ignited me in a lot of ways. Probably narrative storytelling. It probably piqued my interest in that and creating stories myself. And of course, the mood itself indelibly affected what happens when I go to sleep every single night for the rest of my life. Because I could wind up back at Orpheo's theater dealing with that caveman over and over and over again. So, man, call me it any day. Because man, oh man, do I love it.
Well, Patrick, thank you for bringing this game on. This was so much fun to hear from you, and just to like, for myself, learn about something that I think I would have also loved as a kid that I just totally missed. I can totally. It was very easy to see the appeal through that playthrough that you sent.
I'm glad.
So, thank you. Before we go, I've got some fun post-show segments prepared for you, based on you bringing this game on the podcast today. The first of which is the Fact Me by Your Game segment. And that's where I'm just going to share a couple of fun facts with you about this game that I found doing a little research. So this fun fact comes from me just doing a little digging on the on like a Moby Games page for this game. I have titled The Midnight Society Cast. This is a little more related to the show, but one thing that I was fascinated by watching this game is that you see the Midnight Society and they sort of, you see the actors from the show, and they basically reprise their roles. This includes, I didn't know who most of these people were. The main kid with the glasses, his name is Ross Hull, reprising his role as Gary. There was Jodie Resther as Kiki and Daniel DeSanto as Tucker. I think he's like the cool one that has like cut off sleeves at the campfire. I did some additional digging on IMDb and found only one actor that I recognized who would eventually be on the show. Unfortunately, not in this game. And that was Alicia Cuthbert, who was on the show from 1996 through 2000 as Megan. It sounds like you're familiar with this.
She was in the new iteration of it, and there was a kind of a modern remake of it, and they went back into the stories, and then they did a TV movie that was like a more extensive one where the Midnight Society itself was like cast in it, and there was this kind of impish character played by the kid who went on to play JT from Degrassi.
Okay, interesting.
So he was a big deal for me as well. But yeah, she was in the second iteration, and that was really scary too. And those were really good. I will also say, I believe in the original iteration, and in the guest stars, because this was a Canadian show. The
Okay.
first version of it. It was a Canadian show they syndicated to bring onto Nickelodeon. And Melissa Joan Hart definitely on it. And I believe Ryan Gosling
Whoa.
did an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah.
Gosh.
Hey,
well,
Auntie and
thanks-
Tamara did one where they were, I believe one of them was a chameleon.
No way.
It was like, and there's a twist at the end where it's like the chameleon is maybe not the one that gets killed,
Yes.
where it's like she maybe lives the life.
That that right there sounds incredibly familiar.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll mix this show up with the Goosebumps show.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
So I think there was another sort of amphibian Goosebumps one that I might be mixing up, but that's amazing. Thanks for adding on to that.
Of course. And just a heads up,
yeah.
the episode that Ryan Gosling is on it's a ghost radio station, and Gilbert Godfrey is also on that. So I highly suggest checking that
Gosh,
out.
if I would have done more digging, I would have even found that. That's incredible. So that's the first
That's a
sort
good
of
one.
like nebulous fun fact. The second
Love it.
one is called I'm just gonna highlight whatever Viacom New Media is. This comes from the Moby Games page as well. Because I saw this and I was like, what the heck is this? Now in 1994, Viacom corporate giants Sumner Redstone and Frank Biondi created Viacom Interactive Media, described as at the time as a division charged with exploring and recreating brands for new forms of media. Which I read that initially and was like, was Sumner Redstone really like vital to that? I would assume someone
Right.
else brought that to him, but maybe that's how it worked. Viacom Interactive Media consisted of two branches. There's Viacom New Media, which did CD-ROM and cartridge titles like the CD-ROM one we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And Viacom Interactive Services, which is online and ITV. I believe that's interactive TV. The main headquarters was located in New York City, while the New Media division operated out of Chicago, Illinois. And Games Press releases stated, Viacom New Media, a unit of Viacom Interactive Media, is a publisher of interactive entertainment software for Viacom. So basically, there's about 18 games that they made throughout this like 3-year period where this division was open. It ended up closing in 1997 after Virgin took over the management and the administration of Viacom New Media. It's like looking at the list too. Let me see. Do I have that list right here? It's mostly like half of it is Beavis and Butthead like CD-ROM.
Really?
Yes. There's a bunch of MTV's Beavis and Butthead games.
Classic.
There's is there anything else? There's the Indian in the Cupboard interactive CD.
I think I played that for sure. I was a massive fan of those movies. And I had
Yes.
the honestly the VHS tape because it came with a little key and you could unlock it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I had the same thing and was so fascinated by
It
that
was
as a kid.
so huge. I loved keys. I had a big thing of keys that I used to walk around.
Really?
Yeah, I used to like carry around keys and try to open up random doors all over the place.
Oh, that's so
I
interesting.
had an out of control imagination.
I
as you can
love
tell.
that.
It was like wild. And my parents let me fucking go wild. It was crazy. It was wild. It was nuts.
Yeah. But anyway, I was just like incredibly fascinated by this
It's so
window
interesting.
into
Yeah.
when this game, because I was like, what else was there like or similar to
Right.
this game? And turns out nothing quite exactly like it, but other
Wow.
things they did.
That's so interesting. So it really was kind of one of a kind.
Definitely.
Wow.
So that's it.
Other
for-
than Mist.
yeah, truly. The adult version.
Second of its kind. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. That's it for the game the fun facts. I'll now lead us into the game recommendations. Now,
Can't wait.
Patrick, I'm going to treat this segment, it's my one forced tie-in to the movie Call Me by Your Name, where
Right.
I'm going to treat Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of Orpheo's Curse as your passionate summer fling in Italy, where eventually it's not going to work out. So in order to help you get over that heartbreak, I've got 3 potential new flings for you that all have a little something in common with this game.
Can't wait.
So I'll introduce you to them now. The first of which is if you want a modern horror title, like what you got out of this was the fear and the horror and the scares, but that current kids go nuts for. I'll recommend to you a game I bet you're familiar with. I've never played it. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
This was popular like 8 years ago, so it's been around for like 10 years at this
Yeah,
point.
and I don't want to surprise you, but I've watched a lot of gameplay of this on TikTok online.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of
There you
gameplay.
go. They know. But
They
then yeah,
know.
that's if you want, to be scared
Easy.
a little bit more.
Okay, great.
If what like drew you into about this game, it was like the mist like elements of it, but you want a more modern narrative version of that. I'll recommend an actual good game called The Witness, which came out in
Oh.
2016. Might be something
Interesting.
fun for you to explore.
Okay, that's a real one.
Yes, it's a real one where it's a similar gameplay where you're also solving like a sort of mystery, I believe on an island.
Oh, cool.
Been in my backlog forever. Um,
Nice.
and then lastly is if what you really loved about this game was you loved that it was a PC like CD-ROM title based on a Nickelodeon program, and that's really all that matters to you, then I'll recommend to you the Rugrats movie Activity Challenge based on the original Rugrats movie.
Okay.
Did you see that movie in theaters?
I did, and can I look up the cover of this because I might have played this game? I
Yes,
saw
you
it for
can.
my 9th birthday with like all my friends. Rugrats movie activity challenge.
Because I did own this game and I adored it despite being terrible at it.
Absolutely played this game.
Oh wow!
I absolutely remember this this CD-ROM.
Yes, I remember the Reptar wagon got introduced in this movie, and that was enormous.
That was gigantic. I mean, that was a game changer. Oh yeah, I played this game left, right, and 3 ways to Sunday. Are you kidding me?
I remember liking the different mini games that they had too.
Yeah, they had good mini games.
Some good graphics on that. Some like nice like sort of pseudo 3D animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the monkeys,
Ugh.
man.
Oh
well, wow. Okay, I'm in. Let's play it together.
There we go. I mean, I think they've got like let me see. If I click this link, it's on like you can play it in a browser nowadays. It's
Really?
like it's out there. If you search that, like I've got one looks like yeah, you can play this on like myabandonware.com, other places, but anyway, just to recap your recommendations, we've got Five Nights at Freddy's, The Witness, and the Rugrats movie activity challenge. Patrick, that'll do it for the end of the Rex, and that'll actually bring us to the end of the podcast. So
wow,
we did it. Before we go though, thanks for coming on. This was so much fun to get to know, a window of your life that I don't know very well, even better. And it was just so much fun hanging out.
I'll tell you what, I didn't know it either before we started. So thank you so much for joining me. It was or thanks for having me.
No, it's your
honestly,
podcast
thanks for
now.
joining me as I go into my brain. I really
You
felt like
betcha.
I was just splaying it all out. This was so fun, Connor. Thank you for having me. What a pleasure.
course.
And I'm excited to hit you up vulnerably about game stuff. Because I
Please
think
do.
I want to engage in this part of my brain from now on.
I genuinely like being that sort of czar for people. So feel free. On your way out today, I know we plugged some stuff earlier. What do you want to plug? Where should the people find you out there?
Oh man, artists on artists on artists on artists podcast. Go check us out on YouTube. Go download us on podcast apps. Margaritaville License to Chill podcast also available. Instagram Patrick. 4 Patricks. 3 Patricks is not me. You got to go 4.
Or
Yeah, in general, come check us out at UCB. Hang out, hit me up, tell me game Rex if there's I look, I'm in. And you can send me clips of bananas dancing with each other on my TikTok at Patrick McDonald with 0 instead of an O.
it's just gonna feed the algorithm even more.
That
I
doesn't
love
matter. I'm already there.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you again, Patrick. I'll go ahead and I'll close this out with some plugs of my own. The cover art for Call Me By Your Game is done by Glenn J. You can find him and his other great work on Instagram at Glenn with 2 N's.jay. This show is produced, edited, and the original music up top is done by Jeremy Schmidt. You should check out his podcast, Video Games, a comedy show, wherever you get yours. You can follow the show all over social media on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. There's links in the show notes. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Blue Sky if you want. I also stream video games on Twitch at twitch.tv/consiscool69, where currently, I'm still going to be playing through the original BioShock, which we're doing for our current games club, and probably something else if I've got the time. So stay tuned for whatever that probably is. And also our Patreon. We're over at patreon.com/supernpcradio. If you like me and the conversations I have with people about video games, you're going to love what you find there because it's a lot of me. The games club that I mentioned that we're doing, we have new episodes that release every Friday at that $5 DJ Toad tier. More stuff if you go at a tier above it, but find something that works well for you. If you want to support us, we even have a $1 tier if you want to just basically give us a thank you. But there's great bonus stuff there. You'll find it. But that'll do it for this episode of Call Me By Your Game. We will see you on the